Continuing the vision of Yeshayahu for the leaders of this people, cause them to err, and they that are led of them are destroyed. Therefore God is a noun and verb, shall have no joy in their young men, neither shall have mercy on their fatherless and widows. For every one is a hypocrite and an evildoer, and every mouth speaketh folly. For all this his anger is not turned away, but his head is stretched out still. For wickedness burneth as the fire. It shall devour the briars and thorns, and shall kindle in the thickets of the forest, and they shall mount up like the lifting of smoke. Through the wrath of God is noun and verb of hosts is the land darkened, and the people shall be as the fuel of the fire. No man shall spare his brother, and he shall snatch on the right hand and be hungry, and he shall eat on the left hand, and they shall not be satisfied. They shall eat every man the flesh of his own arm. Manasseh, Ephraim, and Ephraim, Manasseh. And they together shall be against Yehudah. Oh, I don't remember how to say Ephraim and Manasseh, but for all this his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed, to turn aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless. And what will ye do in the day of visitation, and in the desolation which shall come from afar? To whom will ye flee for help? And where will ye leave your glory? Without me they shall bow down under the prisoners, and they shall fall under the slain. But, for all this his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still. O Syrian, the rod of mine anger. Now, so widows, it's the single women, the single mothers in particular in my culture, the unmarried most of all, that people like, prey on. I mean, people make their own decisions, but you know what I mean. O Assyrian, the rod of mine anger, and the staff in their hand is mine indignation. I will send him against a hypocritical nation, and against the people of my wrath will I give him a charge, to take the spoil and to take the prey, and to tread them down like the mire of the streets. Howbeit he meaneth not so, neither doth his heart think so, but it is in his heart to destroy and cut off the nations, not a few. For he saith, are not my princes altogether kings? Is not Calno as Carchemish? Is not Hamath as Arpad? I can't help but think that relates to the Grimorium Verum entity, but is not Samaria as Damascus, as my hand hath found the kingdoms of the idols? Now, the Grimorium Verum, I will investigate the language of that in the second stage, right? And whose graven images did excel them of Jerusalem and of Samaria? Shall I not, as I have done unto Samaria and her idols, so do to Jerusalem and her idols? Wherefore it shall come to pass, that when God as noun and verb hath performed his whole work upon Mount Tziyun and on Jerusalem. I will punish the fruit of the stout heart of the kingdom of the king of Assyria, and the glory of his high looks. For he hath said, by the strength of mine hand I have done it, and by my wisdom, for I am prudent. Prudence, the 8 of discs or pentacles or whatever of the tarot cards, the earth suit. And I have removed the bounds of the people, and I have robbed their treasures, and I have put down the inhabitants like a valiant man, and mine hand hath found as a nest the riches of the people, and as one gathereth eggs that are left, have I gathered all the earth. And there was none that moved the wind, or opened the mouth, or peeped. Shall the axe boast itself against him that heweth therewith? Or shall the saw magnify itself against him that shaketh it? As if the rod should shake itself against them that lift it up, or as if the staff should lift up itself, as if it were no wood. Therefore shall God as noun and verb. God as noun and verb of hosts. Are they using a downy? Because they're saying Lord twice. Tetragrammaton does not translate as Lord, so send among his fat ones leanness, and under his glory he shall kindle a burning like the burning of a fire, and the light of Yisrael shall be for a fire, and his Holy One for a flame, and it shall burn and devour his thorns and his briars in one day, and shall consume the glory of his forest and of his frightful field, both soul and body, and they shall be as when a standard bearer fainteth, and the rest of the trees of his forest shall be few, that a child may write them. And it shall come to pass in that day that the remnant of Yisrael and such are as escaped of the house of Jacob shall no more again stay upon him that smote them, but shall stay upon God as noun and verb, the Holy One of Yisrael. The remnant shall return, even the remnant of Jacob, unto the mighty God. For though thy people Yisrael shall be as the sand of the sea, yet a remnant of them shall return. The consumption decreed shall overflow with righteousness, for God is a noun and verb. God of hosts. Is it Elohim Tzbaot? Shall make a consumption even determined in the midst of all the land. Therefore, thus saith God is a noun and verb. Divinity of hosts. O my people that dwellest in Sion, be not afraid of the Assyrian. He shall smite thee with a rod, and shall lift up his staff against thee after the manner of Egypt. Yet a very little while, and the indignation shall cease in mine anger in their destruction. And one of the things about that is that, see, it depends on what sort of example they're setting. If they're the good Zion, but if they're bad Zion, they at least need to be punished to purify themselves, right? And sorry if I'm clearing things more lately. I've been sick. And God as noun and verb of hosts shall stir up a scourge for him, according to the slaughter of Midian at the rock of Oreb. And as his rod was upon the sea, so shall he lift it up after the manner of Egypt. And it shall come to pass in that day that his burden shall be taken away from off thy shoulder, and his yoke from off thy neck, and the yoke shall be destroyed because of the anointing. He is come to Aath, he is passed to Migron, at Michmash he hath laid up his carriages, and they are gone over the passage, and they have taken up their lodging at Geba. Ramah is afraid, Gibeah of Saul is fled. Lift up thy voice, O daughter of Galim, cause it to be heard unto Laish. It's not the Laish of the Yazidi, but I don't think. Or perhaps that's what they mean. O poor Anathoth, Madmanah is removed. The inhabitants of Gabim gather themselves to flee. As yet shall he remain at Nob that day. He shall shake his hand against the mount of the daughter of Sion, the hill of Jerusalem. Behold. Oh, Aduni, which in this period was not a tetragrammaton, but a pentagrammaton, was, it means like leader of the community, and in Genesis is where you first see the incident of that, if that's what they mean by Lord. God is a noun and verb of hosts. Maybe they say Yahweh, it's about, not sure. I copied out this book, but I didn't memorize the book. I mean the full book of Yeshayahu, yeah. Shall lop the bough with terror, and the high ones of stature shall be hewn down, and the haughty shall be humbled, and he shall cut down the thickets of the forest with iron, and Lebanon shall fall by a mighty one. And there shall come forth a rod. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Yashi, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. And the Spirit of God as a noun and verb shall rest upon him, and the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge, and the fear of God as a noun and verb, and shall make him of quick understanding, and the fear of God as a noun and verb. And he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, neither reprove after the hearing of his ears, but with righteousness shall he judge the poor, and reprove with equity for the meek of the earth, and he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked. And righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins. The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them, and the cow and the bear shall feed. Their young ones shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like the ox, and the suckling child shall play on the hole of the asp, and the weaned child shall put his hand on the cockatrice's den. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of God as noun and verb, as the waters cover the sea. Behold, I will stir up the menace. Behold, I will stir up the menace against them, which shall not regard silver. Remember, silver was the first attribute of my Yule vision of 2020. And as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eye shall not spare children. And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees, excellency, shall be as when God overthrew Sodom and Amorah. It shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. Neither shall the Arabian pinch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there, but the wild beasts of the desert shall lie there. and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures. An owl shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there, and the wild beasts of the islands shall cry in their desolate houses, and dragons in their pleasant places. And her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged. Is this one of the passages that mentions Lilith? But dragons like the Tanim, we're talking metaphysical creatures here, just like the references to unicorns, which I've brought up in other programs, or I don't know how many of them were included in this one, but 4. God as noun and verb will have mercy on Yaqub, and will yet choose Yishral, and set them up in their own land, and the stranger shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave into the house of Yaqub, and the people shall take them, and bring them to their place. And the house of Yishral shall possess them in the land of God as noun and verb for servants and handmaids, and they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. And it shall come to pass in the day that God as noun and verb shall give thee rest from thy sorrow, and from thy fear, and from the hard bondage wherein thou wast made to serve, and thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon, and say, How hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. God as a noun and verb hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger, is persecuted, and none hindereth. The whole earth is at rest, and is quiet. They break forth into singing. Remember also in my Yule vision of 2020, there was something about singers, artists, or warriors, I guess whichever source of expression, of whichever skillful expression they want to, or stylized expression, or extreme expression they want to indulge in was the middle attribute. Yea, the fir trees rejoice at thee, at the cedars of Lebanon, saying, Since thou art laid down, no feller is come up against us. Hell from beneath is moved for thee, to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It hath raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. All they shall speak and say unto thee, Art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vials. The worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? Sort of a sardonic reference in Isaiah 14 here. It's not calling the devil, it's not saying the devil's actually the light bringer, but how art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee, and consider thee, saying, Is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms, that made the world as a wilderness, and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners? All the kings of the nations, even all of them, lie in glory, every one in his own house, but thou art cast out of thy grave like an abominable branch, and as the raiment of those that are slain, thrust through with a sword, that go down to the stones of the pit, as a carcass trodden under feet. Self-divinized king kind of, not the end that that king would have wanted, but, so see, we're not talking about the actual devil here. I don't know why anybody reads this and believes that, other than, I remember one phrase, I don't know what context, rejoice not thou, whole Palestina. Rejoice not thou, whole Palestina. Because of the rod of him that smote thee is broken. For out of the serpent's root shall come forth a cockatrice. And, the ton in Palestine is, relates to dragon, so serpent's root kind of, one understands. A cockatrice, and his fruit shall be a fiery flying serpent, and the firstborn of the poor shall feed, and the needy shall lie down in safety, and I will kill thy root with famine, and he shall slay thy remnant. Howl, O gate, cry, O city. Thou, whole Palestina, art dissolved, for there shall come from the north a smoke, and none shall be alone in his appointed times. The light-skinned people from the north that would come invading. And nowadays we think that the ancient Israelites were somehow, instead of brown-skinned, black, woolly-haired people, they were, look like Russians and Germans and Turks. Because in the night air of Moab, because in the night our Moab is laid waste and brought to silence, because in the night Kir of Moab is laid waste and brought to silence. He is gone up to Bayeth and to Dibon, the high places to weep. Moab shall howl over Nebu and over Medeba. On all their heads shall be baldness, and every beard cut off. Well, yeah, people have turned against their nature. Anything from fascism to feminism to, feminism is a form of fascism, but, and the baldness, some of that comes from chemicals. So there's more hair loss and stuff now than ever, despite testosterone lowering. So, that's only one cause. And there's autoimmune conditions that are becoming more common and that sort of thing. So baldness isn't just one factor. There's 5 other types. In the streets they shall gird themselves with sackcloth on the tops of their houses, and in their streets every one shall howl, weeping abundantly. Rumbly and the tumbly abundantly here. And Heshbon shall cry, and Elela, or Eliala? Are they saying my God is God? Something like that? It depends on what letters we're using, right? Their voice shall be heard, even unto Yahaz. Therefore the armed soldiers of Moab shall cry out. His life shall be grievous unto them. Unto him my heart shall cry out from Moab. His fugitives shall flee unto Zahar, a heifer of 3 years old. For by the mounting up of Heth, with weeping shall they go it up. For in the way of Haranim they shall raise up a cry of destruction. For the waters of Nimrim shall be desolate. For the hay is withered away, the grass faileth, there is no green thing. Therefore the abundance they have gotten, and that which they have laid up, shall they carry away to the brook of the willows. For the cry is gone round about the borders of Moab, and the howling thereof unto Akbim, and the howling thereof under Bir Elim. For the waters of Daman shall be full of blood. Is it dumb, the word for blood? For I will bring more upon Daman, lines upon him, that escapeth out of Moab, and upon the remnant of the land. For it shall be that as a wandering bird cast out of the nest, so the daughters of Moab shall be at the fords of Arnon. We have heard the pride of Moab. He is very proud, even of his haughtiness and his pride and his wrath. But his lies shall not be so, therefore shall Moab howl for Moab. Every one shall howl for the foundations of Kir Harseth. Shall ye mourn? Surely they are stricken, for the fields of Heshbon languisheth, and the vine of Sibmah, the lords of those who turn their back. I'm not sure what word's being used for heathen here, but I'll just presume it's goyim. Have broken down the principal plants thereof. Now, you don't need to destroy all the plant life in an area or whatnot when you go to war. That's something that I believe in avoiding. They are come even unto Yasser. They wandered through the wilderness. Her branches are stretched out, and they are gone over the sea. Therefore will I bewail with the weeping of Yasser, the vine of Sibmah. I will water thee with my tears, O Heshbon and Eliala. El is like power. El is like the strong leader. So my God is likely what we're looking at here. Have to know the exact letters. Maybe it's Al. Upon me be God. For the shouting for thy summer fruits and for thy harvest is fallen, and gladness is taken away, and joy out of the plentiful field, and in the vineyards there shall be no singing, neither shall there be shouting. The treaders shall tread out no wine in their presses. I have made their vintage shouting to cease. Wherefore my bowels shall sound like a harp from Moab. That's quite the unique way of unique farting going on there. But I mean, you know, in the passage, I'm gonna try to continue to exclude that sort of thing from my channel. But and mine inward parts for Kir Haresh. Behold, Damascus is taken away. Behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city, and it shall be a ruinous heap. The cities of Aroer are forsaken. They shall be for flocks, which shall lie down, and none shall make them afraid. The fortress also shall cease from Ephraim, and the kingdom from Damascus, and the remnant Syria. They shall be as the glory of the children of Yisrael, saith God as noun and verb of hosts. And in that day it shall come to pass that the glory of Jacob shall be made thin, and the fatness of his flesh shall wax lean. And it shall be as when the harvestman gathereth the kernels, he reapeth the ears, well, the sheaths, I would think is a better way to describe harvesting grain, but with his arm. And it shall be as he that gathereth ears in the valley of Rephaim. Yet gleaning grapes shall be left in it, as the shaking of an olive tree, 2 or 3 berries in the top of the uppermost bough, 4 or 5 in the outmost fruit branches thereof, saith God as noun and verb. Divinity of Yisrael. At that day shall a man look at his Maker, and his eye shall have respect to the Holy One of Yisrael, and he shall not look to the altars, the work of his hands, neither shall respect that which his fingers have made, either the groves or the images. In that day shall his strong cities be as a forsaken bough, and as an uppermost branch.